立法會主席。
President of the Legislative Council. Members may put short questions to the CS statement. Mr. Kwok-hing. Can these placards be removed? Mr. Christopher Chung, I suggest that we allow members to raise the questions as soon as possible. Mr. Kwok-hing, thank you, President. I would like to thank Mrs. Carrie Lam for her efforts in the past 10 months or so, and today, in Hong Kong's history, we are entering a new milestone, and she is presenting the proposal on returning the CE by one man, one vote. Mr. President, there is a very popular saying in Hong Kong. How many decades can a person have in a lifetime? For the same goes for the Hong Kong SAR. We have 50 years, and now 18 years have elapsed. If the CE serves for 5 years in one term, and then we've got 4 terms of a CE which were not elected by universal suffrage, and starting from the 5th term, we have the chance to elect the CE by one man, one vote. Please come to your question. As what the Chief Secretary said, this is a golden opportunity for us, and we must make it happen. We must get started, we must progress, and we must have universal suffrage. But President, Chief Secretary, to my right, there are so many crosses there. Well, that's very obvious, the meaning to the kindergarten child, and it seems that they are not abiding by the rules. My question now is for the CS. Please come to your question. The Pan-Democrats are giving themselves a failing mark. CS, how can you convince and win over such members who have failed in their marks? Will the SARG do its utmost to communicate with the CPG and arrange for the relevant officials of the CPG to meet with all electrical members, including those who pass and those who fail, so that we can have an open and sincere dialogue so that we can seek common consensus so that we can really make it happen. Mr. Kwok-hing, you have spent over 3 minutes in making your comments despite my repeated reminders. Please, members, on the CS statement, you can only raise short and succinct questions, and you should not make any comments. CS. Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank Mr. Kwok-hing for your compliments on the work of the task force in the past 10 months or so. And I think it's not for me to comment on the performance of the Pan-Democratic camp members. I think that should be up to the members of the public. And the SRG in the next 2 months or so will do our utmost to convince the Pan-Democrat camp members to support this proposal. And the Pan-Democratic camp members should also bear the responsibility to explain to their voters that at this critical juncture, where we have a historical opportunity to veto these proposals, while they do have a chance to have universal suffrage for CE. Now, with regard to the meeting with CPG government officials, we've been doing that all along. In the past 10 months or so, in Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Hong Kong, we have arranged all electrical members, including the Pan-Democratic camp members, to meet with the government officials. We even organized dedicated meetings for Pan-Democratic camp members. We will continue to do whatever is needed to be done. If the members, Pan-democratic members can be convinced to be swayed by these meetings, we'll definitely arrange such meetings. The CPG has repeatedly said that the August 31 MPCSE decision will not be withdrawn, and this is a principle, and this is our bottom line. So the Pan-democratic camp members should not hold any illusions that such bottom line will be changed through these meetings. Mr. Jeffrey Lam, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the three secretaries for your efforts in the past 10 months or so. The proposal today presented meets with the requirements of the Basic Law and the August 31st MPC decision, as well as the aspirations of the public for universal suffrage. I believe that after this proposal is endorsed, Hong Kong's will enter a new stage of our democratic development, and we will write a new chapter in our history.
Chief Secretary, we all know that when the chief executive is to be returned by universal suffrage, when compared to the existing arrangement whereby the chief executive is elected by 1,200 strong election committee, so have you considered the differences and the impact on the community, and also in the process of election, if there is a tie, whether it's under universal suffrage or in the course of nominating the candidates? If there is a tie, then how are you going to deal with that? Are you going to have a re-election, or are they going to have are they going to have a penalty kick? So how would that be dealt with under the local legislation? Chief Secretary, thank you, Mr. Lam, for your two questions. Let me answer the second question first, concerning specific situations that may arise in the course of the election. Well, at the stage of local legislation, we will deal with them. And they also do not come under what we are presenting today with regard to the selection method for the chief executive in 2017 under Annex 2 of the Basic Law. When the chief executive is to be returned by universal suffrage, in fact, the timetable would be extremely tight. That's one of the considerations why, under our present proposal, that is at the time of the chief executive election, there would only be one round of election. And then it will be done on a first-past-the-poll basis. So from now on, before the summer recess, if we are able to pass the amendments under Annex 1, then we will have to start with the local legislation right away. And then we also have to launch another round of voter registration, and also for the two stages of nomination of the nominating committee. First, we have the members' recommendation, and then we have the committee nomination stage. And then in terms of the time duration, theoretically speaking, we also have to make sure that in the event that this CE-elect is not appointed by the central authorities, we also have to make sure that there will be time enough for another election. So I hope that members, in scrutinizing our specific proposals, would also take into account the follow-up work and also the very tight time frame for doing that. Next, Dr. Wai-kwok, Chairman, President, in his Chief Secretary's announcement, she said that in a 2-month consultation period, over 130,000 written submissions were received. So my question for the Chief Secretary is that for the Pan-democratic members of this council, during the consultation period, did they submit any written submissions? Mr. President, many members of the public are concerned that if this package is not passed smoothly, then Hong Kong's economy might be dealt a severe blow, and then people's livelihood inevitably would also be affected. So my question for the Chief Secretary is that in trying its very best to promote this constitutional package, has it conducted any assessment, and would there be any contingency plan? Chief Secretary, Mr. Kwok-hung. The Chief Secretary said that we will definitely be able to make it, because she said that we make it. So why is he asking about this contingency plan? Well, this is just your personal comment. Please do not break the rules of procedure. Yes, Chief Secretary. During the 2-month consultation period, as the pan-democrats and the political parties that they represent have boycotted the consultation exercise. That's why out of the written submissions that we have received, those coming from the pan-democrats and their political parties are very few. But then it doesn't mean that there weren't any. In fact, there were parties or groups close to the pan-democratic camp submitting written views to us. But then they did not constitute the majority. They might constitute a minority of the submissions that we have received. In the event that this package is not passed, so that in 2017 we are not able to allow the 5 million eligible voters to cast their votes, well, many people have suggested that there might be difficulties in our future governance. And I personally am not that pessimistic, because I believe that during every term of the SL government, under the leadership of the chief executive, will try its very best to have effective governance. But then to allow 5 million eligible voters or all people of Hong Kong to elect the chief executive by universal suffrage, if that is not done, then they will be disappointed and there will be further division in the community. In the event, the political spectrum in Hong Kong might go polarized, and that is really worrying. And precisely because of these reasons, we have to work very, very hard, and I also urge all members of this council to help us with our work. We will have to spare no efforts in enabling the package for selecting the chief executive to be passed by this council. Thank you. Mr. Christopher Cheung. Thank you, Mr. President. In the new round of API, the administration is saying that it will definitely make it. It shows the determination and resolve of the administration to strive to have the C elected in 2017 by universal suffrage. If that is done, then the entire community will benefit, and Hong Kong's economy and people's livelihood will also see sustainable development. And I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the Chief Secretary and her team for their very hard work. A couple of days ago, a delegation to Beijing said that the Beijing government would not be making any in-principle concessions. In other words, we will have to act in accordance with the 3 frameworks set out by the August 31st decision, and therefore there is no chance that there will be any changes. But then concerning the 1,200-strong nominating committee's composition, can there be some in-principle expansion in order to get the 14 votes from the pan-democratic camp to support the package? So I'd like to ask the Chief Secretary, that is in the constitutional reform package, is there any room for amendment, and what can be changed? How many things can be changed? Chief Secretary. Thank you, President. Thank you, Mr. Cheung, for your questions. As I said in my opening statement, on this occasion, in submitting the specific proposal for selecting the chief executive, we have already taken into account all factors and is in compliance with the constitutional requirement, and the package is reasonable, and therefore we do not see any room for further amendment. That's why, for this reason, we would be striving very hard for the support of the community. Thank you. Mr. Lau Chi-chung. Chief Secretary, first of all, I would like to support you for going down to the district to get more public support for your package. And a few days ago, I met state leaders in Beijing, and I heard them, and they are very, they know Hong Kong's circumstances very well. So I'd like to know if the ASL government will take the initiative for all members of this council to have another chance to meet with central officials. If that is done, then does that mean that we have already started that work, and when will we be able to hear the result? Chief Secretary. Thank you, President. Thank you, Mr. Leung, for your question. As I said just now, during the past 10 months, when we conducted the consultation on constitutional reform, we've been working very hard to respond to the aspiration by members of this council for meeting with central government officials, and such meetings have taken place on several occasions. There was a meeting in Shenzhen and also a meeting in Shanghai, and there were also 2 discussions. One was a breakfast meeting with the liaison office relevant officials, and the other one is, of course, a meeting with the the director of the Central Liaison Office in Hong Kong, Mr. Zhang Xiaoming. So anything that can facilitate the passage of the package in this council and to facilitate the communication between the central authorities and this council, so long as there is this sincerity and hope, the SAR government will definitely take steps to actively pursue that. Mr. Lam Kwok-hung. President, I've been putting this up because I have to start the filibustering here in this council today. Well, Chief Secretary, before the President came out, I was trying to hand this to you. Mr. Lam Kwok-hung, you will have to pull on the microphone again. Mr. President, you're really very smart. Mr. Lam Kwok-hung, please do not make very long speeches. Well, I'm targeting the person because I have a feeling. I have feelings for this person. So just point out the problem. Well, Chief Secretary, you've been asked to come today, and a moment ago I was trying to present this to you. And for those who have taken part in the umbrella movement, and also for those who have voted for the Pan-Democrats, I'm doing this on their behalf. Well, this is something. This is a scam to Hong Kong people because so that's. By this, I mean that there was a horse during the emperor's visit to the community, and this is the dropping of the horse.
President, I'll quote from the Secretary's speech. I've really done my homework. Para 34, President. Now, it says that from the slogans of Let's Talk and Achieve Universal Suffrage and Clear Basis for Achieving Universal Suffrage in the First Round Public Consultation, blah, blah, blah. In paragraph 35, Mr. President, last but not least, I would like to conclude by citing the catchphrase on the cover of our consultation report and proposals. 2017, make it happen. So, you started from Let's Talk and Achieve Universal Suffrage and a clear basis for achieving universal suffrage. Mr. Leung, please come to your question directly. No, this is not really a chance for talk and a discussion. It's irrational, shameless. Now, this is not the time for you to make known your opinions. Please come to your question or else you have to stop at once. All right, since you are pressing me so hard. Under Article 50 of the Basic Law, well, how are you going to get the package passed? I have following views to the central authorities. Now, listen hard, central authorities. Under Article 50 of the Basic Law, a bill passed. Mr. Lam Kwok-hing, Mr. Wang Kwok-hing, what is your question? Mr. Lam Kwok-hing said that he had submitted. He said he would tender some comments. In fact, he's not asking his question. Mr. Wang Kwok-hing, I'm pleased that you have spotted this question, but you set a very bad precedent, Mr. Wang Kwok-hing. Members, I now come to my question. I'd like to ask whether the CS would urge the central authorities to act according to Article 50 of the Basic Law, and I quote here, the LegCo refuses to pass a budget or any other important bill introduced by the government, and if consensus still cannot be reached after consultations, the CE may dissolve the LegCo. So long as the council is dissolved, then all members that stand in the way of passing this package will be displaced by public opinion. Mr. Lam Kwok-hing, hang on. My question is whether you are going to urge the central authorities to invoke Article 50 of the Basic Law and give the CE a chance to announce that this so important bill, this so very important bill, can activate the mechanism under Article 50 so as to displace LegCo members that that cannot win the hearts of the public. Mr. Lam Kwok-hing, please sit down. Stop at once. CS for A. Thank you, President. As I said in my statement, this is a time for me to appeal to all pan-democratic members who adopted a passive attitude to adopt a positive approach and please address these very specific proposals by the CE to achieve universal suffrage. I urge Pan-Democrats to participate in the process in the coming couple of months in this way. Mr. Leung Kwok-hung, Speaker is off mic. Mr. Leung Kwok-hung. Mr. Leung Kwok-hung. The standing our ROPs are very clear. You have already raised a simple question, a very brief question, and that's been answered by the CS4A. Regarding statements made by government officials, members cannot ask supplementary questions. Mr. Leung, if you do not sit down now, I have to exercise my authority to ask you to leave the chamber. I've already given you the last final warning. Speaker is off mic. Mr. Yiu-chung. Thank you, President. Chief Secretary, as we all know, Pan-Democratic members have reiterated one time and again that they're going to veto this proposal. However, nothing is absolute. If one of their camp promises to change his stance, so long as the administration is willing to abolish or reduce the number of FC seats in this council, what follow-up action will be taken by the administration? Thank you. If Mr. Xiu has noted some part of my statement, that is any undertaking on electoral methods for election of the CE or the formation of the electoral cannot be made here beyond 2017, because in accordance with the basic law and the relevant NPC interpretation, every time when we want to amend the electoral methods, we have to go through a constitutional process, or the so-called 5-step electoral reform process. First, as a CE, in the light of the actual circumstances, has to submit a report to the NPCSC. So we can only leave it for the incumbent CE then to make a decision in the light of actual circumstances. So I cannot give you any undertaking and what will happen after the process is activated, because no one here can make any undertaking regarding the situation many years away and also the wish of the community. The CE has to make a report to the NPCSC, which is the highest authority in the country, where there is no ruling out or no predicting what decision will be made by the NPCSC. Mr. Ka-piu, I'd like to ask the CS a question on the nominating method. Now, this is a statement on election of the CE by universal suffrage, para 20. Now, the gate to join the race is wide. At most, 10 candidates can be recommended by the NC. All 10 members might have a chance to be nominated or supported by more than half of the NC members. So what will we do? Because all of them have got the majority support of the NC, and they've also gone through a democratic process. So how is our local legislation going to deal with that? Will candidates feel rather enraged because they've already satisfied the 2 requirements laid down by 831 decision? Why should he or her be disqualified? Now, you are generous in allowing candidates to be recommended. Do you want the number or the nomination process to be as generous so that the Pan-Democratic camp can be assured? May I invite Mr. Tang to revisit the decision made by NPSSC on the 31st of August last year. In that decision, in addition to the 2 points I mentioned, there is also a critical point, and that is for NC to nominate 2 to 3 candidates for the CE race, and the choice will be done by universal suffrage. So Mr. Cheng said there may be 10 candidates who have got the majority support of the NC, and only the 3 candidates with the highest number of votes can really join the CE race. Mr. Chen Kam-lam. Mr. President, about 60 to 70% of respondents in various opinion polls showed that they were in support of the electoral package. I believe the package announced today should even get more support from the community. I'd like to ask the CS whether she would work harder to publicize the package. For instance, in addition to going to the community to publicize the package and having press briefings, will other things be done? It's just like the policy address and the budget speech, the FS and the CE. We go to phone-in programs. Will you do more to secure the support of the community? Even in this council, the pan-democrats are not really that calcified. Mr. Ronnie Tong is here. I believe there are more rational members who are willing to listen to lobbying by the administration. So what would the administration do?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you very much, Mr. Chen, for the question. On this onerous task, the views of the public would have a determining role. As Mr. Chen said, since the August 31st NPCSC's decision, we have seen well over half of the people of Hong Kong who would accept the proposals in accordance with the NPCSC's decision. So from now to the voting at the Legislative Council, the government will be mounting publicity. Myself and 2 other members of the task force and other colleagues will be trying our level best to get in touch with the members of the public to explain to them the merits of these proposals and to achieve the objective of attaining universal suffrage for the chief executive election in 2017. If members have any views regarding the publicity work, we're all ears. As regards the pan-democrats, we have never stopped persuading them. Over the past couple of months, we haven't made any achievements, but things are unpredictable, in particular in the political arena, and we will seek the endorsement of all the members for this proposal. Mr. Felix Chung, President, the pan-democrats are saying that by pocketing the proposals, we will be pocketing them for life. In paragraph 31, there is an answer for us. Now, as regards the improvement of the package under Article 7 of Annex 1 to the Basic Law and the 2004 NPCSC's decision, we have a clear legal basis for initiating further amendments to the method for selecting the CE. By pocketing the proposal, are we pocketing this for life? I'd like to put this to the CS. CS, President, thank you. By pocketing now, we are pocketing this for life. I think this is some misleading a statement. Under the Basic Law and the NPCSC's relevant decisions, we do have the mechanism or the legal basis for initiating amendments to the electoral methods for the chief executive when the chief executive so decides he or she can initiate the legal procedures to make the suitable arrangements. Mr. Tony J. President, I welcome this package of electoral proposals. This represents an important milestone in the constitutional development in Hong Kong. Like the CS said, whether these will pass and whether we will achieve universal suffrage for the chief executive election in 2017 will depend on whether we get 2/3 support here in this council. The members of the public have made a lot of comments regarding the electoral reform, like the electoral base for the subsectors, whether the corporate votes should be replaced by individual votes, and so on. If I may put a question here, the CS made these proposals, and in paragraph 22, we're going to have the first past the post system for the election of the chief executive. There will not be any requirement of 50% majority. And on what basis was this decision taken? CS? Thank you, President. Regarding the universal suffrage for the chief executive election, from the very beginning of the consultation, we said that we have to look at three aspects. The first one is the constitutional and legal requirements. Second, the political situation. And the third one is the operational aspects. Now, Mr. J talked about the electoral base for the subsectors. After the consultation, we find that politically it would be difficult for us to achieve any consensus in this particular exercise for us to make any amendments. So we are proposing that the 1,200 arrangement for sectors and 38 subsectors and also the electoral base will remain unchanged. As regards the universal suffrage for the chief executive election, indeed views were diverse. Some said that we should have 2 rounds of election, and if we required more than 50% of the majority, it would increase the mandate. And that we have considered, in particular, what I said in the statement, all the specific factors, like we have to come up with a system which is comprehensible to the members of the public, and operationally it is not difficult to implement, and we will allow the members of the public to express their stance on the candidates. In answer to Mr. Jeffrey Lam, I said that there are so many procedures involved, and the timetable is very, very tight. If we don't have the luxury of time, but this proposal represents a suitable arrangement, and that's why we are proposing that there will be a 1 round of election using the first past the post system. Ms. Starry Lee, President, the DAB welcomes the proposal to take this electoral universal suffrage proposal to the council. Whether this will get off the ground will depend whether we have 2/3 majority support here, and in 2017 the members of the public will be able to cast their vote and get on this trying, as it were, to elect the chief executive by universal suffrage. I am disappointed with the Pan Democrats for boycotting this session. Now, if we vote down this proposal, we're not sure when the five-step process will be reactivated. We're not sure when universal suffrage will happen. And in your conclusion and also in your statement, the CS said that by vetoing the proposal, it would mean a standstill, and there will not be any reactivation of the five-step process. There will not be any timetable for universal suffrage, and in 2020 we won't have any universal suffrage for the Legislative Council. Why is it not a regression? Why do you say just say that this is a standstill? CS? I tend to personally agree with Mr. Lee. Now we are working on the basis of the NPCSC's decision. We have allowed a timetable and a roadmap for universal suffrage for Hong Kong. I'm afraid if this proposal for universal suffrage for the chief executive election is vetoed, we have no idea when the five-step process will be reactivated again. So there is no way we know when exactly we will be able to get on this democratic train for us to achieve universal suffrage by one person, one vote for the 5 million people in Hong Kong.
And we don't know when we'll be able to achieve another objective in respect of universal suffrage, and that is to have legislative members returned by universal suffrage. What I mean by a standstill is that if this package is vetoed, then for the CE election in 2017, that will be held on the basis of the method in 2012, and that is why I am calling that a standstill. Mr. Yiu-chung. President, we welcome the CS4A's statement on the proposals for selecting the CE by universal suffrage in 2017. The package is in accordance with the Basic Law and the NPCSC's decision made on the 31st of August. Now, in conclusion, the CS4A said 2017 make it happen. So can you tell us more about this catchphrase? Now, when the Pan Democrats or when they constitute the majority, whenever they have the right to veto anything, they will exercise that right. We all saw what they did. We all saw their attitude. So concerning this slogan, 2017 make it happen, how should we really interpret or understand this slogan? Thank you. CS4A. Thank you, President. We adopted different slogans at different stages of consultation because we hope that the public can have a focused understanding of the situation at that time. Concerning this catchphrase, 2017, make it happen. Now we want to tell the public that in fact many Hong Kong people do have an earnest aspiration to be able to select the CE by universal suffrage in 2017. Most Hong Kong people do not want to miss this opportunity, and so we really hope that we can make it happen and that we can select the CE by universal suffrage in 2017. Mrs. Regina Ip. Thank you, President. In the past 16 months, the task force worked very hard to try to take forward Hong Kong's political development. And so on behalf of my party, I would like to express our gratitude to the task force headed by the CS4A. Now concerning the voting method, in the NC. As the CS4A pointed out, during the consultation stage, some said there should be block votes, some said limited votes, 2 to 3 votes. And then we're now told that there will be approval voting. Concerning voting on each person seeking nominations or approval voting, what is the merit? Is it that more people from diverse political background will be able to seek nominations from the NC, CS4A? During the early stages, we described the approach as voting on each person seeking nominations. But then to facilitate our explanation to the public, we are saying that each NC member may vote for all persons seeking nomination. Say, if there are 10 persons seeking nomination, then each NC member may vote for all persons seeking nomination. But of course, as to who can become candidates, it depends on whether they can get support or endorsement of more than half of all the members of the NC, and if there are to be 3 candidates, whether they have the highest number of members' endorsement. Now, this method will give those seeking nomination fair chances. In fact, they can, through their manifestos, their moral character, their charisma, try to secure votes from each and every NC member. And to NC members, the advantage is that they have, or they can freely consider whether they should support these persons seeking nomination. So in other words, their hands will not be tied because they only have 2 to 3 votes in their hands. So all in all, I think it can be seen that this voting method is more open and democratic. Mr. Michael Tian, President, recently I have been visiting various districts. I have been trying to gather public opinion, and many residents have told me that they have been voting for the Pan-Democrats for years, but they really want to be able to elect the Suk-yee by one man, one vote. And they really hope that in the future there will be improvements to the mechanism. Earlier on, I wrote to the task force requiring that a confirmation in black and white be given. And I can see this confirmation now in para 31. And it says that, in fact, it will be for the Suk-yee to initiate relevant amendments. I understand that the supporters of the Pan-Democrats want one man, one vote, and they, of course, hope to see improvements in the future. So I just want to know whether CS4A, you've heard such demands and requests, and how can you try to persuade the Democrats to change their mind and take forward Hong Kong's constitutional development? CS4A President, in fact, we have had a lot of contacts with and discussions with Pan-Democrats, and we haven't heard anything from them about what we can do to secure their support, provided that what we are asked to do is in full compliance with the Basic Law and the 31st of August decision. What I've heard from them is that the decision made by the MPCSC should be revoked, the 5-step process should be reactivated, and that civic nomination is a must. So these are the things we've heard from them. So we haven't got the message outlined by Mr. Michael Tian from them. But then as stated in para 31 of my statement, concerning room for enhancement in the future, we are trying to explain the legal basis and the legal procedures for initiating amendments to the method for selecting the CE. But then it's quite impossible for us to, in black and white, respond to what the Democrats have asked for. Mr. Ronnie Tong is still in this chamber, and I think he has suggested that if we're not able to get what the Democrats want, then we should consider some enhancements beyond 2017 so as to try to get the support of the Democrats in this exercise. Mr. Kwok-him. Yes, Chairman. I am really happy to see the CS4A in this council today to announce to the public the proposals for selecting the CE by universal suffrage. As the CS4A has pointed out, in fact, this is the biggest and most important step forward for Hong Kong in terms of its constitutional development. Now, CS4A, in para 30, you say that if the package is voted down in 2017, then our constitutional development will be at a standstill, and will be impossible to say when the five-step process can be initiated again to implement the suffrage for the selection of the CE.
Chief Secretary, the Pan-Democrat members have mentioned 2022 when we can initiate the five-step process again. So why are you so confident to say that it will be impossible to say when this will be done? Why not 2022? Chief Secretary. Thank you, President. In the past 10-odd months, when I worked on constitutional development, I knew that constitutional development is a very sensitive and controversial issue. That is why every term of CE would have to have a lot of political strength before he can initiate constitutional development discussions. This term of government has to work on the selection method for the CE in 2017, and we have put in so much effort. We have worked for 18 months already, counting from the setting up of the task force. And a lot of controversies have arisen in society. And as I said, with regard to the rule of law and social order, some have raised issues about those. There is still a big distance between ourselves and the Pan-Democrats. So how can we have confidence that the next term CE can immediately initiate the five-step process for the CE election method in 2022? Why can we have the confidence that the next term CE will be of the view that he can or she can shorten the distance between himself and also the Pan-Democrats? And moreover, Pan-Democrat members might have to ask themselves if the proposals are vetoed. And even if the next term CE will have the political strength to initiate the five-step process, how can we in any way guarantee that the MPCSC will give us another decision? And for that decision to be closer to the ideals of the Pan-Democrats. Therefore, considering these factors, I have written this sentence to say that we are faced with a lot of uncertainty. There is just no way for us to
project when there will be another opportunity to initiate the process again. Mr. Christopher Chung, in paras 30 and 31, the CS has said that after implementing universal suffrage for the selection of the CE in 2017, the CE selected by universal suffrage and the Hong Kong SAR government under her leadership will have the political mandate required to further take forward constitutional development. And it is said that the CE can consider the actual situation prevailing at that time. I think this is quite vague. What do you mean by political mandate? What do you mean by actual situation? When the CS answered other members, she said there would be constitutional, political, and operational considerations. I think constitutional and operational considerations are quite stable matters. I think only the political side is changing from day to day. So politically, what are your considerations for you to take forward constitutional development? If national safety is protected because of legislation on Article 23 of the Basic Law, would that be one consideration? Or that there will be some political enlightenment amongst the opposition camp, so they love the country more? Would that be another consideration? CS for A, para 30, talks about a CE who is returned by universal suffrage. He would have more legitimacy and a bigger mandate from the people. So he will have the political mandate to take forward constitutional development. You can imagine during the election process, the candidates for the CE post will have to respond to the aspirations of the public for further constitutional development. And when the CE is elected, he will have the people's mandate to do it. Mr. Chung is actually asking, conversely speaking, if in 2017 we are not going to select the CE by universal suffrage, but rather by the 1,200 strong election committee, plus, as I said in response to Mr. Kwok-him's question, I mentioned those considerations. I really can't see how there is any political mandate so that we can initiate the constitution development discussion again in the next term. Dr. Lam Tai-fai, President, Mr. Alan Leong said many times that the 27 pan-democratic camp members would certainly veto the proposals. C.Y. Leong said that he would be confident that he will be able to get 13 to 14 votes from the pan-democratic camp. In a big era, there will be people who have so much confidence in themselves that it seems they can predict what will happen. In fact, C.Y. Leong and Alan Leong just don't understand the actual situation in Hong Kong. Mr. President, the administration says that they hope that public opinion will make pan-democrat members change their stance and support the proposals. But CS, I hope you will understand, those people who support the government are not those who support the pan-democrats. Even if there are more people who love the country and love Hong Kong and they support the government, pan-democrats can still take no heed of them. They can still have no regard for those people. So if you want to make use of public opinion to make pan-democrat members change their stance, aren't you a little naive, or are you cheating yourself? President, my question is, I understand the bottom line of the central authorities, and the principle is that the proposals can return a CE who loves the country and loves Hong Kong, and to make sure that there will be territorial integrity and also national safety. CS, I'd like you to say in a very succinct manner to the people of Hong Kong, the proposals that you have just mentioned, which parts, which provisions would guarantee that we can have a CE who loves the country and loves Hong Kong to be returned. I asked you for definitions of loving the country and loving Hong Kong. You did not answer me. But how can you tell the public today that your proposals can really return a CE who loves the country and Hong Kong so that the central authorities will not be disappointed? CS for A. The NPCSC on the 31st of August last year made a decision. And in that decision, Dr. Lam Tai-fai's points were included. At that meeting, the NPCSC was of the view that we must insist that the CE should be someone who loves the country and loves Hong Kong. That is a principle. In order to achieve that principle, the election method of the CE must be designed such that there will be a systemic guarantee to realize that. That meaning that the CE should be someone who loves country and loves Hong Kong. And in Annex 1 of the Basic Law, we should reflect the NPCSC's decision last August and the core issues contained therein. In other words, the proposals today already provide the systemic guarantee that the NPCSC has required. Mr. Kwok-him, President, the FTU thanks the task force for their hard work over a period in the past, and today they have submitted the specific proposals for constitutional development. In the concluding remarks, the CS says that we should make it happen in 2017. We hope so. We also hope that this is not just a wish of the CS. Maybe she knows somehow that this will be the case. So my question for the CS is, you are planning to go to the districts to do publicity in order to secure support from the people. We understand the Pan-Democrats will also be mounting anti-publicities in order to also secure public support. While both sides do that, I'm afraid that there will be division in society. I'd like to ask the government, apart from doing publicity in the districts, of course, this is something you should do. That's part of your responsibility. But have you also considered some latitude on matters which are not principles, so that those who are trying to get one person, one vote for the Hong Kong people and not fighting for their own political mileage. I am talking about Pan-Democrats who are in this category, so that we will be able to implement the proposals.
Yes, as I said just now, today we are presenting this proposal on returning the CE. This is a constitutional, legal, and reasonable proposal. There is no further room for us to give in. We must be forward-looking, and we should see how we should get this proposal passed, so that in 2017 all eligible voters can return the CE through one man, one vote. So I believe that in the next several months we should focus our energy on discussing this specific proposal. Mr. Paul Chair. Thank you, President. In the CS statement, there are 9 suggestions. So in our voting in the future, these 9 suggestions should get endorsed by 2/3 majority of the electoral members. With regard to the nominating procedure of the nominating committee, paragraph 19 states that there are 4 initial proposals: 1 person 3 votes, 1 person 2 to 3 votes, 1 person maximum 3 votes, and 1 voting on each person seeking nominations. And in paragraph 20, it is stated that each member should support at least 2 persons seeking nomination. Strictly speaking, this is a 5th option, not one of those proposed in the consultation document. Why did I raise this? The proposals have details, but then the local legislation will deal with the many of the nomination methods. And by the approach you suggested, that there will be very likely that only 1 person or more than 3 persons seeking nomination could obtain endorsement of more than half of all the NC members. Should the government be dealing with this by way of local legislation? I'm sorry that local members may not have this document with you on hand. The proposal that we would present to the electoral for voting, it will be in the form of a bill, government bill, and it will attach proposals to amend Annex 1 of the Basic Law. Mr. Porter mentioned about how NC should come up with 2 to 3 candidates among the recommended candidates that will come under the amendment for Annex 1. And we would not be leaving it up to the local legislation to deal with that. Mr. Chan Kim-po. Thank you, President. Recently, I have talked to the supporters of the Pan Democrats, and I've asked them, would they support political reform? Yes. We should pocket it first, and we'll go on fighting for our cause. So we should understand that even if the proposal gets endorsed, it's not all plain sailing. But anyway, I'm optimistic about the endorsement of this proposal. I believe that the moderate Pan-Democrats should be wise enough to that there are more pros and cons in passing the proposal. But the crux is how to get the moderate Pan-Democrats to change their stance. I believe that that can be done, but I hope that the CS could consider more the reasons for convincing them to change their stance. I've said this many times. If some central authorities officials said that this is not the ultimate scheme and there would be some sort of undertaking in that regard, then that would help the passing of this proposal. I think this will be a critical point here. CS, I hope that you can work on that front. With regard to the return of the CE, in paragraph 31, we said clearly that the basis for making further improvement in the future, I think that is set out very clearly, and I don't see how we should make further comments apart from what is set out here. And if we endorse this proposal, and then we have this CE system well in place, anchored in Hong Kong, and then if we wanted to make further improvement in the future, there is indeed a legal basis and certain procedures to do that. Mr. Wang Ting-kwong. All along, the electoral proceedings are being broadcast live, and many people are watching the live broadcast. I've been asked by my sectors to thank the CS for your efforts in the task force and also the various government bureaus involved in the work. In your response to the questions, the CS used that the term that you would go all out to do the work. And they asked me to ask this, put this question to the CS. Apart from you going all out to get this work done, would you be joining hands with other sectors to go all out to get the maximum, the best support from the members of the public for the proposals? Thank you, Mr. Wong, for your suggestion of mobilizing various sectors to get popular support for the proposals. We are very happy to do that, and we will be liaising with various strata and bodies in the community in the next 2 months. If there are opportunities for further collaboration to promote democratic development in Hong Kong and publicize the proposals, we will actively participate in such work. Ms. Chen Yuen-han. CS, take care. I will follow up on the questions raised by Tam Yiu-chung and Kwok-him. Concluding remarks is that we should make it happen in 2017. Well, a lot of Hong Kong people would like to make it happen. This is a fact. But the question is, well, in an earlier stage, or rather recently, you said that you were not optimistic, but then the CE said that we would try to get 13 or 14 more votes from the Pan Democrats. When he made the remarks, I was wondering what kind of measures would he take. Now you're saying that 2017 make it happen, and earlier you said you were not optimistic. Is it the case that you would try to do something very different? You would muster up the courage to take a big leap forward? And I admire Mr. Ronnie Tang for the remarks he made recently. So can you explain? You said 2017 make it happen. What have you in mind to accomplish it? I've responded to Mr. Tam Yiu-chung and explained that why we chose this catchphrase, make it happen. We want to reflect the strong aspirations of the public to return CE by universal suffrage in 2017. They don't want to lose this golden opportunity. So that's why we want to make it happen. But it doesn't mean that we can make it happen today. I don't want to use the words like optimistic, pessimistic, or prudently optimistic, or what. Well, what we need to do in the future is to get the support from the public and also get the support from the majority of the members of the electoral. And when we do the voting in the next 2 to 3 months, we will get 2/3 majority of the electoral members so that we can take a big leap forward in our democratic development. Dr. N. Chang. Thank you, Chairman or President. Well, members of the public have strong aspirations on this political reform package. Many of us want to make it happen. This is, we should take a progressive and gradual approach in taking forward the reform.
You can see the opposition camp, even before you announce it, they already objected to that. So even before the announcement of the August 31st decision, they already said they would vote against it. So I think as far as Hong Kong people are concerned, whether it's a genuine or fake universal suffrage, the most important thing is universal suffrage, because that will be good for us. And Chiang, please ask your question. I understand that you'll be going down to the districts to publicize it with all the principal officials, and you'd like to make it happen. Yes, Chief Secretary, the public know that you are very tough, but then can you tell the public that you're not just tough, but then you also have the confidence that you will definitely be able to make it? Chief Secretary, thank you, President. Concerning the specific proposals that we have presented today, I do have confidence with regard to the majority of the public who are earnestly waiting for universal suffrage to take place for the election of the Chief Executive. I also have confidence with regard to the Pan-Democratic camp members. I also hope that they can see that by passing this package this time, definitely that would be a lot better than having a standstill. And for many years, they've been fighting for universal suffrage, and that would also present a breakthrough. Sorry, Chief Secretary, please stop. And we will definitely continue to do what we can in order to strive for the support from this council. Mr. Leung Kwok-hung, what's the question? I suspect that we don't have a quorum here, Mr. President. And you said that you would be going down to the district together with the Chief Secretary. Chief Secretary, they are cheating you. Mr. Leung Kwok-hung, if you continue to make frivolous remarks, I'll ask you to go out.
Mei-kuen 議員。
Alice Mack. Thank you, Mr. Lam Kwok-hung, for calling for a quorum count. What I'd like to say is that we are very grateful to the task force for working so hard during the past months, and you said that you would also be fighting for public support in the coming months. But then, other than the three of you, what about the entire political team, and also including the principal officials and also undersecretaries? Would they be working together to get the support of the public so that we'll be able to have one man, one vote for the chief executive election? Chief Secretary, well, in simple terms, yes, we'll all be working on it. As has been reported by the media, this coming Saturday we'll see the launch of a major publicity campaign, and the entire cabinet, including the unofficial members of the Executive Council, they've also told us that they would be willing to take part in the publicity campaign for the proposals for selecting the chief executive by universal suffrage. Thank you. Any other members? If not, then Chief Secretary. That's the end of the debate on the statement by the Chief Secretary. Next, first reading, bills are first reading.